All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are for video 2 for completing the square. We're going to go ahead to page 34b and 34c. I'm actually going to start on number 4, which is on 34c. I think 34b as a whole you guys can fill out by yourself from the first video, as well as the examples that are shown and fully finished for you on the left side of the page. So you can go ahead and do those now and then reset to this video when you're ready for number 4. So here it is, number 4. So we're going to take a look at our steps right here, just the same way as before, for solving this quadratic using completing the square. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a to be equal to 0. So we're going to divide by 4 on all sides. And when we do that, we end up with a squared minus 3a plus 7/4. I'm going to leave this as a fraction. All right, this is the reason that we're doing number 4 is a little bit different than the others, is equal to 0. So at this point, we're going to get our c value onto the other side, so we're leaving room for a new one. That would make it a perfect square trinomial. So we end up with a squared minus 3a. I'm going to leave space for the new c, and then minus 7/4. So here's my new space, and then what I'll do on this side to keep it even. So now we want to find our new c value, as our step 2 says, and we're going to do that by putting b over 2 squared, so it's negative 3 over 2 squared. That ends up being 9/4 because we just square it. So we end up with plus 9/4 here and plus 9/4 here. All right, so on this right side we'll add it, so it's just 2/4, which I'll change to 1/2 right now to save ourselves some space. 1/2. This right here is in fact a perfect square trinomial. It might not look like it at first, but this is a perfect square. This is a perfect square, and we'll do the 2ab check in a second. But again, we do know that as long as we use b over 2 squared, that's literally like the formula to make this a perfect square trinomial. So if we were to factor square root of a squared is a, square root of 9/4 is 3/2. This minus sign comes down, and we square it. Again, we can go ahead and double check by doing the 2ab check. So this is a times b would be 1.5a, negative 1.5a, times 2 would be negative 3a. So this does work. All right, at this point, we want to get this a by itself, so we want to take a square root to cancel out the square. So we do the plus or minus on this side. We end up with a minus 3/2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1/2. All right, at this point, we're going to add 3/2 to both sides. I'm going to change this 3/2 right now to 1.5 because we're going to, in a second, be rounding to the nearest hundredth here, which is in decimal format. So I think both of them being a decimal would be a good idea at this point. So I'm going to have a is equal to 1.5 plus or minus, let's go ahead and do the square root of 1/2 in our calculator. So I pull up the calculator one more time. So again, in here we're going to do 0.5 and then hit my square root button. Again, that might be switched for you guys. You might have to do square root button and then. So that's what it looks like. So we end up with 0.707. So that would actually, for the nearest hundredth, round up to 0.71. And now if we add these two together, we do adding for one of our answers and subtracting for the other answer, we end up with, for the addition, we end up with a equals 2.21. And our second answer is a is equal to, if we do subtraction, it would be 0.79. So there are two answers to this quadratic. Once again, if we were to graph this, these would be the almost exact to the nearest hundredth place where they would cross the x-axis. And that is it.